Assalamu alaikum dear students and friends. Today we will discuss about the chemical reactions of alkenes. So in this lecture we will consider about the regio and the stereochemistry of addition reaction of alkenes, the processes that can add molecules of water, halogens, carbon and other functionalities across the double bonds, and the events that cleave double bonds and provide more highly oxidized compounds. So let us begin with the addition reaction of alkene, and the very general reaction in which a carbon-carbon double bond is added A and B across the double bond. So if you see this equation, you will surely come to know that this pi bond and this sigma bond and uh, they are broken in the starting material, and in the product the two new pi bonds are formed. When this AB sigma bond is broken, A is attached to one carbon and B is attached to other carbon. Here one thing is very important to tell is that alkene has a carbon-carbon double bond, and double bond means a pi bond, and pi bond is made up of pi electrons, and pi electrons are nucleophilic in nature because they are electron rich species. So being nucleophilic, this carbon-carbon double bond, it will attack this electrophilic atom, which is electron deficient, and we will have a bond formed, and then this B will attack the remaining atom which is unbonded to have the complete product. This we will show in the mechanism. So first of all, let me tell you what electrophiles are. They are electron seeking species, and carbon-carbon double and carbon-carbon triple bonds are particularly susceptible for the electrophilic reagents. The common electrophiles are H positive, that is the proton, X positive, which is called halonium in general, and in specific it's called chloronium ion if it is Cl, bromonium ion if it is Br, and iodonium ion if it is iodine. And also we'll see some reactions associated with the mercurium ion, Hg positive. So this is the general mechanism for the general reaction of addition reaction of alkene. The pi bond attacks the A, and the B as left from this AB molecule, and we have this Ca bond attached associated here with the adjacent carbon being electron deficient and trivalent. So the B negative will attack this carbocation to complete this reaction. So this is again the mechanism is shown. The pi electron attacked the A, the B has left, and then B has attacked the carbocation to complete this reaction. Sometimes we do not observe the carbocation, rather we have a three-membered intermediate formed, which we will discuss when we will be discussing about the oxymercuration reaction and other reactions. Let us discuss what Markovnikov's rule is. For symmetrical alkenes, there is no discussion about the regiochemistry. What does it mean? It means if we have, for example, if we have ethene, so it makes no difference where the carbocation is formed. For example, this pi bond attacks the A, and this left-handed carbon has bonded with the A, so the right-handed carbon will serve as a carbocation, and the vice versa could also occur if the Ca bond from the right-handed carbon is formed. So we have the left-handed carbon as a carbocation. So this right-handed carbocation and left-handed carbocation are same because the starting material is symmetrical. So it makes no difference where the carbocation is formed. However, in case of unsymmetrical alkenes, with the unsymmetrical alkenes, it means the carbon double bond carbon has different attachments to each of their carbon. So in this case, we have a possibility of two different types of carbocation. For example, when this pi bond attacks the A, if it is attached, this A is attached to the left-handed double bonded carbon, so we have a carbocation on the right hand side, on the opposite side. And if this right-handed carbon attaches with A, we have this left-handed carbon as carbocation. Now the two carbocations are not same, they are different, because this carbocation has one alkyl group substitution and this carbocation has two alkyl group substitution. And now the carbocation having two alkyl group substitution is called the secondary carbocation, and the carbocation with one alkyl substitution is called the primary carbocation. So when the B attacks the carbocation, we will be having two different products. So what does the Markovnikov rule tells? It says in the electrophilic addition for an electrophile across an unsymmetrical alkene, the more highly substituted and the more stabilized carbocation is formed as the intermediate in preference to the less highly substituted one. So if we consider this example, this is unsymmetrical alkene, and when the carbocation is formed, so there are two possibilities, whether the carbocation is formed to the left-handed carbon or to the right-handed carbon. If the carbocation is formed to the left-handed carbon here, so we will be having a tertiary carbocation. If the carbocation is formed to the right-handed carbon here, we will be having the primary carbocation. So secondary carbocation, being more stable, will be formed and immediately captured by the B negative to afford this product. So this is all based on the carbocation stability. In summary, in the Markovnikov rule, the reaction goes through the intermediacy of the tertiary carbocation, the most stable carbocation. So this is a real example, the hydrobromination of the alkene. If you see, the pi bond attacks the hydrogen, we have the carbocation on the left hand side. It means the hydrogen has been attached to the right hand sided carbon, leaving the left handed carbon as an electron deficient. And in doing so, we have the tertiary carbocation, which is better than the primary carbocation. So this carbocation will be formed and immediately captured by the bromine and anion, which was just released from the HBr to afford the overall this haloalkane. But remember, we did not get this product, rather we got this product. Both are regioisomers to each other, and we have got the product that went through the intermediate, more stable intermediate of the carbocation. So this is the same thing in graphical form. So now what is the theoretical explanation of Markovnikov rule? It's simple, that when the protonation occurs with the help of HX or any other thing, that more stable carbocation is formed. For example, in this particular example, there is a competition between the secondary and the primary. So one way to state Markovnikov rule is to say that in addition of HX to an alkene, the hydrogen atom adds to the carbon atom which has already higher number of hydrogen atom. For example, this carbon has two hydrogen, this carbon has only one hydrogen. It says the hydrogen that is being attached will go to the carbon that already have the higher number of hydrogen. So this red hydrogen will go to this right-handed carbon because it has already two hydrogen, and not to this left-handed carbon which has only one hydrogen. This is another way to explain the Markovnikov rule. This is again an example. This is an unsymmetrical alkene. So the first step is the protonation with the help of HBr. We have the proton added to the terminal carbon, leaving this secondary carbocation and the lower reaction. And this upper reaction will not occur because this will go through the primary carbocation. And now when we have the possibility of higher alkyl substituted carbocation, so reaction will proceed in this way. So once the secondary carbocation is formed, the bromide will attack this carbon center, and we will have this major product in which the bromine is attached to the center of the molecule, not at the terminal of the molecule. Same is the case for the HCl. Here again, this cycloalkene is there, and you could see, and when H is added, it is added to this carbon, not to this carbon. The reason is that when H is added to this carbon, we have the carbocation developed here, which is tertiary in nature, and will be immediately captured by the bromine. So this product, the first product, is formed in 98%, and the alternate product, which is the reverse of the Markovnikov, is just formed in the 2%. So what is the general statement of Markovnikov rule? In the ionic addition of an unsymmetrical reagent to a double bond, the positive portion of the added reagent attaches itself to a carbon atom of the double bond so as to yield the more stable carbocation as an intermediate. It's the same thing that we have just discussed, that for example, this compound ClOH, in which Cl is partial positive because oxygen is more electronegative atom. So this chlorine will attach to the terminal carbon, leaving the central carbon, and this one, the central carbon, as a carbocation, which is tertiary in nature, and it will be immediately captured by the hydroxide to afford this major product. Same is the case for this example. This iodine, being partial positive, will attaches to the terminal, and the chlorine will attach to this tertiary carbon center to have this product as a major one, not the blue product. So everything is going as per Markovnikov rule, which is quite obvious and quite reasonable. This competition of attaching the groups to either side of the carbon-carbon double bond is the matter of the regioselectivity. With the regioselectivity, it means which particular regioisomer will form and which particular regioisomer will not form, or will be formed in very much lesser yield. For example, this particular alkene, when it is hydrochlorinated, we have two possibilities. In one possibility, H is attached to the terminal and chlorine is attached to the central position, which is obviously quite uh, probable, being major in nature. And the other is the vice versa. The S attaches to the middle carbon, and the chlorine attaches to the end carbon, which is minor. So the relationship between the two products is called the regioisomerism, and the process is called regioselection, in which the first one is the major product, which is 95%. However, we have the exception to the Markovnikov rule, which is called the anti-Markovnikov rule. For example, if we treat this alkene with HBr, but this time in the presence of dialkyl peroxide, we will not have the hydrogen at the terminal and the bromine at the center. Rather, we will have the reverse of this. That is, the hydrogen will be lying in between the carbons, and the bromine will be added to the terminal. Why is it happening? Because this reaction is not going through the intermediate of carbocation. Rather, this is going through the intermediacy of radical mechanism, and this radical mechanism and this radical reaction and further radicalization we will deal in another video. So at the time, we just accept that if there is a radical mechanism for the HBr addition, we will be having the anti-Markovnikov product, that is the reverse product as expected. So what about the stereochemistry? Okay, let us consider this example. When this pi bond attacks the positive part of the other molecule, we have the carbocation at one carbon, and obviously we have discussed the carbocation which is more stable will be formed as compared to the lesser stable. So in this case, this secondary carbocation is formed. In competition, there was a primary carbocation which will not surely form. Once the secondary carbocation is formed, now the nucleophile has both approaches, whether to attack from the top or to attack from the bottom, and both are equally possible because this carbocation is flat in nature, is planar. So nucleophile may approach from the either face. If it approaches from the above face, we will have this S enantiomer, and if it approaches from the below face, we will have this R enantiomer. So the relationship between these two products are enantiomer. Obviously, one is called S enantiomer, one is called R enantiomer. So what R and S are, this is the another topic which we will cover in the topic of stereochemistry. So the combination of the two enantiomers opposite uh, with opposite optical rotation is called the racemic mixture or the racemate. So what is the overall process? So overall process in case of hydration of alkenes is the addition of H and OH across the double bond, carbon-carbon double bond, in which H is the electrophile. It means when the pi bond of the alkene attacked the H part of the water, and then the hydroxide part attacked to the second carbon, which was left as a carbocation. So if you see this particular example again, you see that there will be a carbocation here, which I'm just pointing. So OH will attach to the middle carbon, and the H will attach to the terminal carbon. So overall, there will be a tertiary alcohol formation, not the secondary alcohol, the primary alcohol formation. Mechanism is very simple, because this time it is we have also the acid present. So the pi bond will attack the H of H3O positive, and we will be having the attachment of terminal carbon with the H, leaving the central carbon as a carbocation called the tertiary carbocation, which will be immediately captured by the water molecule that was just formed from the hydronium ion, and we have the addition of the hydronium ion to the middle carbon, and then this hydronium ion will be converted into the alcohol by the another mole of water molecule. So overall, there is an addition of H and OH across the double bond, with H attached to the more numbered hydrogen carbon, and OH attached to the less number of hydrogen attached to the carbon. Rearrangement can also occur. For example, this particular reaction, if you consider, if you think, obviously, if the H attaches to terminal carbon, we will have secondary carbocation here, and if H attaches to this carbon, we will have the primary carbocation. So in the competition between the primary and secondary is predominated. So hence the primary secondary carbocation that is just shown here will form. But before the water attacks this secondary carbocation to have this secondary alcohol, we have one more option. What if this neighboring methyl migrates to this carbocation center? In doing so, we will have the tertiary carbocation, which is more stable than the secondary carbocation. So this phenomenon is called the 1,2 alkyl shift, and then the water will attack to the newly formed carbocation center, which is more stable than the previously formed, and this is the major product that we will form. So this reaction is not only the hydration of alkene, but it's also the rearrangement reaction. It is written in the red form, red is colored. This will not be the major product, rather this will be the major product. And this is because of the rearrangement. And rearrangement occurs whenever there is a possibility of having more stable carbocation formation. There is another way to hydrate the alkene rather than adding water and acid. And the process is called the oxymercuration demercuration. We will discuss the steps and then mechanism, and then the utility. Why do we bother using this expensive mercury compound when we have a very cheap source of acid to hydrate this the same alkene? Obviously, it must be having some extra benefit as compared to using ordinary acid. So the first step is called the oxymercuration, in which the mercury and the oxygen are added across the double bond. As the name suggests, oxymercuration. And the mercury, it came from this mercury diacetate in the presence of THF as a solvent. And the second step, this mercury is removed in the process called demercuration, which is removed by the sodium borohydride. We will discuss their mechanism in detail. Then we will come to know how this reaction occurred. So this reaction again was operated under the Markovnikov rule. If you think, if you consider overall the addition of the water molecule across the carbon-carbon double bond, you see the OH is attached to the central carbon and H is attached to the terminal carbon, as predicted by the Markovnikov rule. Here it says the same reaction that we discussed, that if we simply use the acid, there will be a rearrangement from secondary carbocation to tertiary carbocation. But in case of oxymercuration, there will not be the rearrangement. So using oxymercuration and demercuration, the advantage of avoiding the rearrangement reaction. So for this particular alkene, if you perform the oxymercuration and demercuration, you will get this alcohol, and this is the secondary alcohol. But if you used the acid for this particular starting material, so you would not have got this alcohol, rather you would have got this tertiary alcohol when this methyl migrated to the right hand side. So the advantage of using oxymercuration, demercuration is to avoid the rearrangement reaction. Now come to the mechanism. Obviously, it starts on the attack of the pi bond of the alkene. It attacked to the mercury, which is electrophilic, and the acetate ion is removed. So first of all, we have this mercurinium acetate complex, a three-membered ring, carbon, carbon, and mercury. And then the water attacks, and we have the breakage of CHG bond, and at one end we have the water, OH2 positive, which will be converted into water after one more step, and the other end has the mercuric acetate. Here the water attacked to this carbon, not to this carbon. Again, this is the matter of the regioselectivity. This occurred because mercury has a larger size, so it prefers to stay at the less hindered site. Once the oxymercuration has occurred, now in the second step, here it is. In the second step, the attack of the sodium borohydride. Wait. The attack of the sodium borohydride is obvious to remove the mercury ion. Here, I will show you when it comes. So now discuss about the stereochemistry, and the overall there is an anti-addition. Usually it's an anti-addition. With the anti-addition, it means the addition of mercury and the water are from the opposite side. For example, for this particular alkene, cycloalkene, when this mercurium acetate, mercury acetate, sorry, it was attacked by the pi bond. We have the mercury at the lower end. When the water attacked and the CHG bond was broken, it came from the other face of the side. So overall, the OH and Hg are from the opposite sides. So this I was talking about. After the oxymercuration, the sodium borohydride will release the hydride ion, which will attack this carbon, and the mercury will depart, and we will be having H in replacement of Hg, and overall it will be the OH and H. In this particular case, we have OR because we used the ROH, but if we use water, we would have the OH there. Well, there is another way to hydrate the alkene, which is called hydroboration oxidation, and this goes through the anti-Markovnikov mode. It means the hydrogen is added to the less numbered hydrogen's carbon, and the opposite to the Markovnikov rule. For this, we have to use the borane. And first, let us discuss about the borane. What borane is? When this carbon-carbon double bond attacks this boron, we have the BH2 at one end and H at the other end. So we may say that the addition of HBH2 across the carbon-carbon double bonds. So borane is very reactive species because it's quite electrophilic because of the empty orbital of the boron. So it does not exist alone, rather it exists as a dimer, as a B2H6, or it is complex with some solvent. For example, it is complex with the THF. So when you purchase the borane, in fact, you will not get the borane, rather you will get the B2H6 or BH3THF or BH3DMS complex. But during the reaction, the BH3 is released, and that is the actual borane that works for that particular reaction. So this hydroboration oxidation reaction has two steps. The first step is the addition of BH2 and H, and the other is BH2 and H, and the other step is the removal of the BH2 and incoming of the hydroxide. So this time the reduced activity is reverse as per predicted by the Markovnikov. Why it's happening? Uh, for this, you have to consider this with the oxymercuration demercuration that we have just discussed. This is the cyclopentene, methyl cyclopentene. If we had to perform the oxymercuration demercuration, simply the first step would be the addition of the mercury to the double bond, and then this mercury was released by the borohydride. So we have the overall the addition of water molecule to the double bond, which is called the hydration, and hydrogen, the blue hydrogen, it was added to the carbon which has already higher number of hydrogen as predicted by the Markovnikov rule. But in case of hydroboration, the reverse occurs, because when the pi bond attacks the boron, we have the pi and boron complex, pi bond and boron complex, and you could see here, I would like to see here in the last intermediate, the boron is added to that carbon which has the lesser substitution, and this is the key for the anti-Markovnikov addition of alkene. Other examples, if we take this particular alkene and if we want to perform the hydroboration, the boron will add it to the lesser side of the carbon, that is the terminal carbon, rather than being the central carbon. So this is a very much difference between the two products. This is 99% and this is just 1%. Same is the case for this. In this second equation, the boron must come here and not there, because this is a relatively least hindered carbon. What about the stereochemistry of hydroboration? The stereochemistry is syn. With syn, it means the delivery of the boron and the hydrogen, it comes from the same side. Syn means same side. The opposite of syn is anti, which means the opposite side. So in this particular alkene, the BH2 and H, which are coded as red, they must have come from the same phase. And this is the syn stereochemistry. Well, once boron has been added to the carbon-carbon double bond and the borane has formed, this reaction repeats with the another mole of alkene, which attacks to boron center. So we have this dialkyl. Initially we had the alkyl borane, then we had the dialkyl borane, and then the third molecule of alkene again attacks to the electron deficient boron. We have the trialkyl boron. Anyways, once boron has been alkylated, the second step comes into action with the hydrogen peroxide. How does it happen? The H2O2, the hydrogen peroxide, first of all, it was treated with the sodium hydroxide to afford the hydroxy peroxide anion. Now this hydroxy peroxide anion attacks the electrophilic boron to have this complex, and the rearrangement occurs. Now this R group, R means one of the alkyls which was attached to the boron, and migrates from boron to the oxygen, and we have 1,2 migration. R migrate from D to O, like this. Here this R has been migrated, and then this hydroperoxide again attacks the boron. We have the complex, and the second migration occurs, so on, and then the subsequent attacks, we have the third migration. So overall, the all three boron has alkyl groups have been migrated from their corresponding boron position to the adjacent oxygen position, and at the end we have the hydrolysis of this alkyl oxylated and tri-alkoxy brominate boron complex, and we have after the hydrolysis we have this corresponding alcohol, and this is the anti-Markovnikov alcohol as compared to the oxymercuration or acidic medium hydration of alkene. So this is again a overall reaction. This is alkane. If it is BH3 and hydrogen peroxide and sodium hydroxide water, so the OH must attaches. It must attach to the terminal carbon, and the H must attach to the central carbon. So overall, it's an anti-Markovnikov addition. Opposite regioisomers as oxymercuration and demercuration. So again, there are examples. I'm just passing. So it's for the comparison purpose. If you consider this one hexene and the acid as a catalyst and water, so you must obviously predict the hydroxide to be attached at hydroxide to attach at a carbon 2 and the H attached to the carbon 1, because in doing so we will have the secondary carbocation at carbon 2 which will be captured by the water, and we have the secondary alcohol. And however, if you use the hydroboration and oxidation reaction, the reverse will occur. Rather than attaching of the OH to the carbon 2, it will go to the carbon 1. So this is the anti-Markovnikov product. So remember, if you want to have the Markovnikov hydration product, use the acid or the oxymercuration demercuration process. But if you want to have the anti-Markovnikov hydration product, so go for the hydroboration oxidation reaction. The first was the Markovnikov product, second was the anti-Markovnikov product. So this is the summary that we have just discussed. If it is the acid catalyzed hydration, the regiochemistry is based on the Markovnikov. If it is the oxymercuration, again the regiochemistry is based on the Markovnikov. However, if it is the hydroboration oxidation, the regiochemistry is not the Markovnikov but the anti-Markovnikov. As far as the stereochemistry is concerned, so there is nothing to deal while the acid catalyst, because once we have the stable, once we have the formation of the carbocation, and then the nucleophile may approach from the both sides of the carbocation. And same is the case for oxymercuration. Once the mercury has been attached to the carbon-carbon double bond, and in the second step, when sodium borohydride attacks to the CH bond, and this reaction is not stereo controlled because it is assumed to go through the radical reaction. However, in case of hydroboration oxidation reaction, it is quite stereo specific. The starting materials stereochemistry dictates the product stereochemistry. As far as rearrangement is concerned, in the acid catalyzed reaction, yes, it occurs, it does occur, and it occurs very much often, very frequently. However, for oxymercuration and demercuration and hydroboration oxidation, it almost never occurs. So this is a very good summary of alkene hydration methods. Again, the equations are shown, and again you could see one particular alkene is shown the hydration reaction with all three reagents that we have discussed so far. The first reaction is the acid catalyzed hydration, the second is the mercury catalyzed hydration, the third is the hydroboration. You see in the first reaction we have the rearranged product, not the addition of H and OH simply across the double bond, but we have the rearranged product. But in case of oxymercuration, demercuration, we do not have the rearranged product, but we have simply the addition of the HOH across the double bond. So, but the first product and the second product, the first this one and the second this one, both are in accordance with the Markovnikov addition. However, the first product is also the rearranged product. And when we consider the third reaction, and so the third product is in fact the anti-Markovnikov product, because you could see this time the hydroxide is attached to the terminal carbon, not to the central carbon. Now come to the another reaction, that is electrophilic addition of bromine and chlorine to the alkenes. Simply, in this particular reaction, there is no issue of the regioselectivity because uh, across the carbon-carbon double bond, the bromine, two bromines or the two chlorines are added. So there is no debate that which side the bromine will attach and which side the other group will attach. We have bromine or the chlorine. The mechanism we will be discussing after a short time, but let's see the reaction. The cyclohexene, once brominated, we have the two bromine on the both side. Same as the case for the chlorination. Cl2 is added across the double bond. Both side chlorine has been added. And we will discuss why one chlorine is above the plane and one chlorine is below the plane. Same is the case for bromine that we will discuss. Now come to the mechanism. It is obvious the first step is the pi electrons attack of the alkene. Like this pi bond will attack to this bromine will depart, and we will have this is shown here. This pi bond must have attacked this bromine, and this bromine has departed. We have this bromonium ion, a three-membered intermediate, very much reactive, and then the bromine that was just removed uh, and serving as a bromide will attack this one of the carbons, and this ring will be opened, and we will have the dibromine across the double bond. And remember, the other bromine has come from the opposite phase of the bromonium ion. So overall, the addition of bromine has occurred, but in an anti-fashion. With anti, it means from the opposite sides. And this is the thing that I was discussing, that once the first bromine has been attached to the carbon-carbon double bond, the other bromine must have approached to the opposite side. So overall, the two bromines have been added across the double bond in opposite orientation, not to the same side. So opposite orientation means the anti-addition. And this is called the stereospecific reaction. Stereospecific reaction, basically it tells when the starting material dictates the stereochemistry of the product, is called the stereospecific reaction. And whenever there is a possibility of more of formation of more stable stereoisomer, this is called stereoselective reaction. In other video, I will explain what stereospecific and stereoselective reactions are in pretty much detail. So I'm just leaving this part at the moment. Again, this is another mechanism that how cis-2-butene has added the bromine across its double bond. The first step is the bromonium ion formation, and then the bromide ion will attack from behind the bromonium ion. You could see in the blue arrows, and the overall there is a delivery of bromine from the opposite side of the bromonium ion. And now there are two possibilities, but both possibilities will give the same product with opposite enantiomers. Same is the case for trans. Just leave it. Okay. Once bromination has been covered, the second, the other topic is the halohydrin formation. It is very much similar to the bromination of alkene. The only difference is the presence of the solvent. If the solvent is nucleophilic, for example, the water is there. So at the stage of the bromonium ion, let me show you. For example, consider this one. The pi bond attacks the bromine, and we have the bromonium ion as expected. And now remember, in the last restriction that we discussed, in the bromine form, the bromination of alkene, in that case, we had the CCl4 as a solvent. So solvent was serving as only a solvent, but not as a nucleophile. But in this particular case, this water as a solvent may also serve as a nucleophile. So once the bromonium ion is formed, this water will attack to either end of the bromine. In fact, it will attack to the more hindered carbon, and we will have bromine and OH attached to both sides of the carbon-carbon double bond, and this is called halohydrin formation. Halohydrin, in specific, it is called bromohydrin. Now come back to the main equation. X2 is added to the double bond in the presence of water. So overall, we have X and OH across the carbon double bond, not the X and X. So addition of OH and X across the double bond, where X positive is the electrophile as usual, and it follows the Markovnikov rule obviously. So it's all about the game of the presence of the nucleophilic solvent. If it is present, so this bromonium ion will be captured by that particular nucleophilic solvent. If the solvent is not nucleophilic, for example CCl4, the reaction will simply serve as a bromination, as we discussed. Again, if we have other solvent, for example, if we have water replaced with the alcohol, so in this case, the alcohol will attack to that particular bromonium ions rather than having the halohydrin will have this product. You could see this OMe must have come from the methanol, and when the first step must be the formation of the bromonium ion. This pi bond must have attacked to the terminal bromine. We must have the bromonium ion, and the methanol must have attacked to the to the to this carbon. So overall, it's an ether from this side, and it's an haloalkane from the other side. Now come to the another reaction, epoxidation. Epoxidation, you could see with epoxide, it means the three-membered oxygen-containing ring. Here, this aryl COOH is there. This compound is called the peracid because there are three oxygen. If it were two oxygen, it would be simply called the benzoic acid derivative. But this is three oxygen containing compound. This is called peracid, and in this peracid, this red oxygen is basically it has added to this carbon-carbon double bond, and usually metachloroperbenzoic acid (MCPBA) is often used for this oxidation purpose. So epoxidation purpose. Epoxide is basically is a general name. Its corresponding IUPAC name is the oxirane for the first member of the epoxide. And this is the structure of the MCPBA. It is the abbreviated form of metachloroperbenzoic acid. You could see this red hydrogen. This is the electrophilic hydrogen. Why this is the electrophilic hydrogen? Because when the nucleophile attacks to this oxygen, and this OO bond is broken, and we have this metachlorobenzoate as a byproduct, which is obviously stable because of the resonance stabilization. So this oxygen is electrophilic and not this oxygen electrophilic, because if the nucleophile attacks to this carbon, we will have the HOO negative ion, which is less stable than the benzoate ion. This is the mechanism for the epoxidation of alkene. You could see the pi bond. First of all, it must have attacked to the electrophilic oxygen. You could see with the arrow A. In return, this OO bond is broken and it collapsed to this CO bond, forming a new carbonyl bond. So the previous carbonyl bond will break, and the OH bond will form, and this OH, the first OH, the red O and the black OH, this will again break, and overall we will have the three-membered oxygen-containing ring, which is called epoxide, and this byproduct as a benzoic acid derivative. So this is the transition state in the middle, and the dotted bonds mean whether the bond are being formed or the broken. For example, if you see this pi bond is obviously going to be broken down, so that is why it is shown in the dotted line, and the new CO bond is going to form, again it is dotted, and this OO bond is going to break, again it's shown in the dotted line, and there is a pi bond is going to form, so it is dotted, and one solid bond is missing there, and one dotted bond is there, and here this pi bond is broken, so this is shown in dotted line. This OH bond is just going to form, so that is why it's shown in dotted line, and this OH bond is going to broken, so this is again shown in the dotted line, and the new O and C bond is going to form, again it's shown in the dotted line. So this mechanism is called butterfly mechanism because of this particular shape. Now come to the another reaction, the divalent carbon compounds. In this particular compound, we first have the generation of the carbene. This is called the carbene, the CH2 negative. Basically, it's not the negative one here. It's a neutral species. It's a diradical species. It's formed from the diazomethane. and we have the nitrogen gas as the byproduct, which is very much entropically favored. That is why this reaction occurred. And then this carbene here, the charge is not there, sorry for that. And this neutral, the diradical species carbene is attached to the carbon-carbon double bond, and we have the cyclopropane ring as the product. So let's discuss about the variation of this carbene. If we have the two halogens, for example, the CCl2, which may be formed from the chloroform, and this is called CHCl3, which is the chloroform. The tertiary butoxide will extract this alpha hydrogen, and we have this CCl3 negative ion, and then this chlorine will release will be knocked off to afford the CCl2 radical and diradical, which is called dichlorocarbene, and which this will be immediately captured by the pi bond. So overall, we have the CCC, a three-membered ring, cyclopropane, with the two chlorine groups attached to the same carbon. This is a stereospecific reaction. Yes, it is, because stereospecific reaction means the stereochemistry is dictated by the starting material. So starting from the trans alkene, we will end up to the trans product, trans cyclopropane ring. Starting from the cis alkene, we will end up to the cis cyclopropane ring. It's a name reaction, the Siemens-Smith cyclopropane reaction. It is initiated with the diiodomethane and the zinc copper complex couple. We have this a carbenoid species which is attacked by this pi bond. So overall, we have the cyclopropane ring. Again, it's a stereospecific reaction. The trans starting material gave the trans product, the cis starting material gave the cis product, and this is called the Siemens-Smith cyclopropanation reaction. One more reaction, the oxidation of alkenes. This 1,2 dihydroxylation, which is syn in fashion. This is a general reaction. A carbon-carbon double bond has added the two OHs across the carbon-carbon double bond. The reagents are the dilute potassium permanganate or under the cold condition, or we may use the osmium tetroxide. The mechanism, let's discuss about the mechanism. This is, if you consider the blue one, this is which is the dilute potassium permanganate. First of all, there is a permanganate ester formation, a 5-membered ring, and then the hydroxide will cleave this permanganate ester, and the diol formation will occur, which is in syn fashion. Syn means delivery from the same site, same phase. And we may also perform the same dihydroxylation of alkene using other reagents such as osmium tetroxide and pyridine. Again, the first step will be the 5-membered intermediate formation, which is called osmate ester in this particular case. And this osmate ester will be hydrolyzed with sodium bisulfite to afford the diol, the 1,2 diol in a syn fashion. So both reagents give the syn dihydroxylation as discussed, the delivery of the hydroxide from the same site. However, if you compare potassium permanganate with the potassium permanganate, there is a possibility of the breakage of the carbon-carbon double bond. So it's not as sophisticated as the osmium tetroxide reaction. So that is why the KMnO4 with using KMnO4, the lower yields are obtained, because the byproduct is also possible when this carbon-carbon bond is broken, and we will have the propanoic and the acetic acid, because this carbon will be oxidized. Both carbons will be oxidized. Osmium tetroxide is obviously, it gives higher yield, but it's very toxic. So that is why it is usually avoided, and also it's very expensive as well. Well, oxidative cleavage of alkene, and this could be an advantage, because if we want some chemical transformation in which the carbon-carbon double bond is to be broken, it's a blessing for us to use the potassium permanganate under alkaline condition and heat. So we will be having this AA carbon-carbon double bond broken, and the oxidized carbons the oxidized carbon will generate here. For example, this is an alkene when treated with the potassium permanganate. So we will get and this CC bond broken. So overall, the 4 carbon species will convert into 3 carbon species and 1 carbon species. So we will have this ketone here, and we will have the carbon dioxide here. For this cycloalkene, this CC double bond will be broken from here, and we have the ketone here and the carboxylic acid here, because first of all, this CC bond will be broken. We will have ketone, and here we will have the aldehyde, but this aldehyde will be immediately converted into the corresponding carboxylic acid under this oxidizing agent. Cleavage with the ozone is also another reaction. You could see it's a very good reaction because it may stop at the aldehyde level. So it has the more utility than potassium permanganate under heating condition. The mechanism we will show after some time. First, let us discuss some more examples. This is cyclopentene. When treated with the ozone and zinc acetic acid, we have simply the breakage of the CC double bond to afford the di-L and the aldehyde on the both side of the carbon-carbon double bond. And in the case for this another particular alkene, we have at one end the ketone, and here this acetone, and at one hand we have the aldehyde. So it is very obvious when are we going to have the ketone and when are we going to have the aldehyde. If there is H attached to the carbon-carbon double bond, so obviously the end product will be the aldehyde. And if there is no H attached to the carbon-carbon double bond, we will be not having the aldehyde. For example, we already know that this carbon has 2 methyl group attached. So when it is broken, we will have the ketone here. We will have the aldehyde to the other hand side. But in the first example, we have aldehyde and both sides, not the ketone. But now come to the mechanism. It's 1,3 dipolar mechanism. This is the general. This is the structural formula for the ozone. You could see the negative oxygen will attack this carbon, and this carbon will in return will attack to the other terminal oxygen, and this pi bond will move towards pi electron will move towards the central oxygen. So we have overall addition of O3 across the double bond, which is called the initial ozonide. Which is also called the primary ozonide, but this is quite reactive and very much unstable, so it will immediately cleave by showing these arrows into this intermediates, and this is the acetone, and this is ketone, and this is this another intermediate. So this oxygen negative will attack this carbon, and this carbonyl oxygen will attack this carbon. So we will get secondary ozonide this time. If you compare this initial ozonide with this ozonide, you will come to know in this initial ozonide we have all 3 oxygens directly linked, but in this second molecule we have OOCO bond. So this is somehow stabler than the first ozonide. This initial ozonide is called the primary ozonide. This is called the secondary ozonide. And then this zinc will cleave this secondary ozonide into the corresponding carbonyl species. Now come to the hydrogenation reactions of alkenes. This is the last reaction of this lecture series. This double bond, carbon-carbon double bond becomes saturated in the presence of hydrogen, and there are different catalysts used: platinum, palladium, and nickel. Obviously for carbon-carbon triple bond, we have to use 2 moles of hydrogens. Hydrogenation is an example of addition reaction. Now catalysis, there are 2 types of catalysis. One is called the heterogeneous catalysis, the other is called the homogeneous catalysis. As the name suggests, for the homogeneous catalysis, it's a catalyst reaction in which the reaction and the catalyst are in the same phase. However, in the heterogeneous catalysis, it's a reaction in which the catalyst and the reaction phase are different. For example, metal catalyzed reaction like platinum, palladium, or nickel are called the heterogeneous catalysis. Here are the examples. For this cyclohexene, when treated with the hydrogen in the presence of palladium charcoal, it's the example of the heterogeneous catalysis because the palladium charcoal is solid and this hydrogen is gaseous, and this is the liquid in nature. However, in case of homogeneous catalysis, this Wilkinson, this is called the Wilkinson catalyst. This rhodium complex, this is liquid in nature, and this alkene is also liquid in nature. So all they are very much homogenized starting materials, and this will give the alkene. This will also give the alkene, but with different sort of type of sort of catalysis. The end product is the saturated compound. This is defined here. We already know about this, and we already discussed in previous lectures that the addition of a hydrogen across the carbon-carbon double bond, which is called dehydrogenation, is quite exothermic. That means it releases the energy, and you could see through this diagram. And the hydrogenation of alkene is basically syn, because the delivery of the two atomic hydrogen come from the same phase. So always remember the catalytic hydrogenation is a syn addition reaction. The anti-addition places a part of the adding reagent to opposite phase of the reactants, as we already know. But the hydrogenation of the double bond, carbon-carbon double bond, is a syn addition. Thank you.